Hi, this is Diggy here from flawlessconfidence.com, and I'm very happy to have Tia Sparkles from livelifeyourway.net, which is a very big personal development blog, and it's doing super. So welcome, Tia.
Thanks, Diggy. And it's yourlifeyourway.net.
Yeah, my
Um,
bad.
that's all right. It is a personal development site with fun, relevant advice for love, work, and life. Well, that's what I'm going for.
That's fantastic. I love your site actually, and it's been exploding the last couple of weeks, so that's doing super well. So we're here today to talk about confidence and self-esteem and how that kind of relates to life and success and happiness. And I'm personally a big believer that confidence and self-esteem are necessary to live a happy and successful life and to kind of achieve everything you want to achieve. What are your views on confidence and self-esteem?
Dude, totally. You can't do anything without any of those. I was thinking about this when you asked me to do this, thinking about confidence and self-esteem and the difference between them. And I think people get that confused. We kind of put them together and think, oh, they're the same thing. But really, self-confidence is more geared towards being able to do specific tasks or just how you feel about your own abilities to do something. And self-esteem goes way, way deeper. It's more about how you feel about yourself, your self-worth, whether you feel like you're good enough or not. And they're both linked together, very strongly linked together. You really cannot be successful if you don't have self-confidence. But I think you can still be successful if you don't have self-esteem as much. But if you're really good at something, for example, you can like confidence is all about knowledge and ability, right? So like you're really good at something, you can still be successful, but you might not feel that good about yourself inside. But I think self-esteem is important for happiness. And what's the point of having success if you don't have happiness, right?
Yeah, I agree with that totally, and it's
Yeah.
two things that people often confuse with each other, and I think that the confidence more comes from actual experience, from practicing and doing something over and over, and the self-esteem is more your inner belief in yourself and your ability
Yeah,
to be able to do anything you want and succeed in that. So,
exactly.
do you think that confidence is something that people are born with, something that's genetic, or is it something that you acquire throughout your life?
Huh. Okay. I think when we're born completely whole and like whole and healthy, well, most of us. And we don't really know what confidence, self-belief is. We were born with a whole lot of curiosity, okay? And then as we grow up, it's the environment that molds us, that changes us. The messages that we get from our parents, from society, from teachers on the playground, what we're told about ourselves and our beliefs and ability, whether our parents are comparing us to other people or not, how we feel, whether we feel accepted, whether we feel like we belong. And those are the things that then shape our confidence and our self-esteem. So I don't know if we're born with it or not, but I think that we don't know any better. And we probably think we can do everything when we're small. Babies will crawl and try and put their fingers in plug sockets and all kinds of things. So that could be confidence, that could be just not knowing or stupidity. So I think as we grow up, then we consciously build our confidence up, and how we do that is by taking risks and not taking failure personally in just so many different ways, right? So yeah, like I think yeah, we're born with some and then the rest is shaped as we go along.
Yeah, I agree with that. But what do you think is the main reason why people lack confidence, why they're low on self-esteem?
Okay, so again, so I'll start with self-esteem. I think people lack, and actually from experience, people lack self-esteem when they've either been neglected or criticized a lot as a child or compared with others. Self-esteem can be low. Sometimes if you're prone to depression and lowness and you don't go out and get enough exercise and fresh air, surprisingly, that will affect your self-esteem as well. I had somebody write to me just the other day, this young girl saying, I am so ugly. I have such an ugly face. I can't look at myself in the mirror and people hate me. And I wrote back to her saying, people don't hate you. And first of all, popularity has nothing to do with your looks, maybe to a certain extent, but it's very shallow and superficial. But this has to do with how you feel about yourself. Now, if you were a really ugly person, I would not want to be friends with you because of that. But if you were always negative and had low self-esteem, then you'd be dragging yourself and everybody else down, right? So,
So I
um,
think it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, whereas like if someone makes a remark and says like you're ugly, for example, and you take that to heart and then you believe that you're ugly, then you kind of project this feeling that you're ugly and you'll get more criticism that you're ugly, and it's just like this big cycle, that you kind
yeah.
of create for yourself with anything actually related to confidence.
Yeah, exactly. But like I was saying, like negligence and abuse, not feeling like you fit in, taking things personally, taking failure to mean failing at something and then thinking that you're a failure because of that, that can cause that can cause low self-esteem. And I think low confidence comes from mostly, I think it's lack of knowledge about something or lack of faith in your ability to do something, overwhelmed, fear of failure, all these things. If I was doing something new for the first time, then I wouldn't feel very confident about it because I didn't know what to do. But that has nothing to do with low self-esteem. That's just, hey, once I know, how to say operate something, then I can be confident that I can do it again. If I can run 10 minutes, then I'm confident I can slowly build it up and run 30 minutes. So that's where low confidence comes from, just not knowing, I think, not believing in yourself, whereas low self-esteem has all these external things that you internalize and turn into feelings of unworthiness and
Yeah,
not being good.
that's a good example of the difference between confidence and self-esteem. So, for example, if you want to drive a car for the first time but you've never done it, like you may not be confident about it at all, but if you believe in yourself and you have like this high self-esteem, then you can be like, well, okay, I can do other things well. So even if I cannot do it, I'm going to get in the car, I'm going to try, and even if it takes me a long time, I'm going to do it. You're not going to be like, oh, I cannot drive a car because I'm scared and I'm going to mess it up or something like that.
And that's the thing, right? With confidence, at least you'd be willing to give it a try. But when you have low self-esteem, you don't even want to try because you just get into the whole fatalistic, oh, it's never going to work. What's the point? I'm never going to do it. That kind of feeling, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly the reason why confidence is so important in being successful and like building the life you want, because it just allows you to take action to take that
Yeah.
step to making your life better, because without that confidence you give up before you even try. And then
I read somewhere that enthusiasm and confidence it will take you further than expertise, which is so true because enthusiasm and confidence will help you take risks and then you can learn something. You can come up with something completely new and create some inventions. Whereas if you just go in with, I'm an expert, I know how to do it, you're not really learning anything. And it might take you years to get to that expert level, but that doesn't mean you stop trying, right? You just go out there with all your enthusiasm and confidence. Yeah, totally.
yeah. So, if you had to say, like you have a lot of experience with the coaching and with the personal development. So, what do you think are the key steps in building confidence that lasts? I'm not just talking about like external boosting confidence that lasts for 2 days and then disappear. Like something real, like how to build long-lasting confidence.
Um, it's not just personal development and coaching, it's my own life experience because when I was in my 20s and my teens, I had very low confidence, which came from low self-esteem. And it took 16 years for me to build up my self-esteem. I think, okay, so I still took risks and had confidence to do things, but I still never felt like I was good enough. And I still sometimes feel that way. I still sometimes don't feel good enough. But only sometimes. And how I increased my self-esteem was mostly it has to do with your negative thoughts, and your negative thoughts lead to certain beliefs about yourself. And when you start believing those negative thoughts, that's when your self-esteem really plummets. So I started working on changing my thoughts. Um, I have this NLP technique that I use every time negative thoughts come at me. I put up my hand like as though it's a red stop sign, and I go stop, and all those thoughts come crash, 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 because they're not just in my head. It feels like they're at me from everywhere, and they just go like little bugs against a windshield, and they just fall down. I use that technique sometimes, and that really helps. I worked on my confidence by taking risks and moving across countries and leaving jobs and starting new things even when I wasn't sure how they were going to turn out. I realized that perfection is bullshit. I let go of that idea of trying to be perfect and doing everything right. And I think looking at failure as I looked at it this way: if everything is an experiment, nothing is a failure. And so